crop family is the umbels, or the umbellifera. And I think they got their name because if you've ever seen wild carrots or Queen Anne's lace, it has almost this umbrella kind of flower. You know, I haven't looked at the book. I'm sure that somebody would tell us what exactly the reason is.
That's right. I'm a word freak.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. So, but they're one of my favorite families because I love carrots, especially a carrot that's been sown in late June or early July and is growing right on into past, like, say, Columbus Day. What happens in those fall carrots is as we start getting our frost, start getting those cool temperatures, the starches in our carrot roots, this happens with parsnips as well, also happens with Brussels sprouts and broccoli, those starches get converted into sugars. And then that's what conveys that sweetness. So a carrot in like a late October, early November carrot is just, out of this world flavor, fresh from the garden. As opposed to those long skinny carrots, the imperator variety, it's a completely different variety of carrots that you tend to get in the grocery store. There's one variety of imperator, I think, that some of the seed companies sell that says actually tastes okay. But most of the varieties that home gardeners plant, the Nantes or some of the French varieties, are varieties that are really focused on flavor. And there's a whole host of heirloom varieties, or open pollinated carrots, that are really quite tremendous tasting and also have some regional history. You think about the way America was colonized, is there was a lot of development on the eastern seaboard. And so there was a lot of, in the 1800s, truck farming and farming, outside of Boston was, a lot of the food, Dartmouth and Westport were, going up into the Boston area. So a classic, variety of carrot is a Danvers 126. It's a, open pollinated heirloom carrot that was presumably grew in Danvers, which is north of Boston. So if you start seeing some of those varieties, you probably can find something that's going to be able to grow in your soils. You're not sure what your soils are like. Stay away from a carrot if it's a long, skinny carrot, if you don't have nice, loose soils. If you have a rocky soil, a real heavy clay soil, you want to plant the carrots that have heavier shoulders and are more kind of pyramid in shape. They'll get a better shape to your carrots. The thing I want to end on today is this idea of using transplants versus direct seeded crops. And, transplants are used a lot on commercial vegetable farms because, number one, you're putting a plant in the ground that you're pretty sure is going to survive. Which means if I'm going to plant, 200 row feet of lettuce and I want to have a lettuce head every single foot apart, I can use a transplant and then, 2 weeks later I'm going to have my lettuce spacing where I want it to be. I don't have to go back and thin things out. They also have a really great advantage because they can kind of outcompete weeds a little bit better than something starting from seed can. So, a lettuce plant that's already got 5 or 6 leaves on it, you put it out in the ground, it's going to be able to respond to the conditions. So the transplants, you can start your own. There's also a lot of nurseries, garden stores, the like, that will sell you 6-packs in the springtime. And the transplants are a really nice way to get a jump start on the season. You could get a squash transplant, the second week of May, maybe before you could actually direct seed the squash in the ground. But that other idea is that they really can compete with the weeds better. So for a home gardener, if you're one of those gardeners that doesn't like to weed very much, which is probably a good majority of the home gardeners, transplants are a way to help you get beyond that. And we won't go into a lot of the other techniques that we have to help not weed as much, but transplanting is one of those things that you can use. Not every crop can be transplanted. A lot of the root crops like carrots, most people won't transplant those. But there's a really wide variety of crops that you can transplant quite successfully. And then there's obviously certain crops like tomatoes and peppers and eggplants that are almost universally always transplanted in this part of the country.